Welcome to this case study on MNIST classification. In this session, we'll take everything we've learned about neural networks in PyTorch and put it into practice by building and training a full model on the MNIST dataset. We'll walk through the complete workflow: loading data, defining a neural network, choosing a loss function and optimizer, running the training loop, evaluating performance, and saving the trained model. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to implement a full training pipeline and use it as a template for future deep learning projects. The MNIST dataset is one of the most widely used benchmarks in machine learning. It contains 70,000 handwritten digit images collected from real people writing the numbers 0 through 9. Out of these, 60,000 images are used for training, and 10,000 are reserved for testing the model. Each image is a 28 by 28 pixel grayscale picture. That means every digit is represented as a small square of 284 pixels. The labels in MNIST are simple, just the digits 0 through 9. This dataset is extremely popular because it is clean, easy to work with, and standardized. For beginners, MNIST is an excellent starting point for learning how to build, train, and evaluate neural networks. In this step, we load the MNIST dataset using the torchvision library. PyTorch makes this very convenient because MNIST can be downloaded automatically if it's not already present. We begin by importing Torch and then importing datasets and transforms from torchvision. Next, we define a transform pipeline using transforms.compose. This pipeline performs two important operations. Transforms.toTensor converts each image into a PyTorch tensor. Transforms.normalize scales the image so its pixel values have a consistent mean and standard deviation. For MNIST, the standard normalization values are 0.1307 for the mean and 0.3081 for the standard deviation. We then create two datasets. The first dataset is the training dataset, with train set to true. The second dataset is the test dataset, with train set to false. Both datasets will automatically download the MNIST files if they are not already present, and both apply the transform pipeline we defined earlier. After that, we wrap each dataset in a data loader, which handles batching and shuffling. For the training loader, we use a batch size of 64 and enable shuffling. For the test loader, we use a larger batch size and keep shuffling disabled so results are consistent. At this point, our data is fully prepared for training, normalized, batched, and ready to feed into our neural network. Before we train our model, it is always helpful to inspect the data directly. Visualizing a few sample images allows us to confirm that the dataset loaded correctly, that shapes and pixel values look as expected, and it helps us build intuition about what our neural network will be learning. In this example, we take one batch from the training data loader using the next and iter functions. We then display the first 6 images using matplotlib.pyplot. Each subplot shows one MNIST digit, converted to grayscale, along with its label. This quick check helps us verify that the images are 28 by 28 pixels, that the labels match the handwritten digits, and that our preprocessing is working properly. On this slide, we define the neural network that will be used for our MNIST classification task. We build our model by subclassing nn.Module, which is the base class for all neural network components in PyTorch. Because each MNIST image is 28 by 28 pixels, we flatten it into a one-dimensional vector of size 784 before feeding it into the network. The model we define here is a simple MLP architecture made up of fully connected layers, also called linear layers. We apply ReLU activations between each layer to introduce non-linearity. In the code example, the class is called MNIST Inside the dunder init method, we define 3 linear layers. The first layer maps 784 inputs to 256 units. The second maps 256 to 64. And the final layer outputs 10 values, 1 for each digit class from 0 to 9. Inside the forward method, the input tensor is first reshaped using x.view, flattening the image batch. Then, the data is passed sequentially through f.ReLU applied to the first 2 layers, and finally through the output layer. This structure forms a complete multilayer perceptron suitable for classifying MNIST digits. In this step, we choose the loss function and the optimizer for training our MNIST model. For this classification task, we use cross-entropy loss. Cross-entropy is the standard loss function for multi-class classification problems, where each image belongs to one of several classes. Next, we choose the ADAM optimizer. ADAM is a widely used optimization algorithm because it adapts the learning rate during training and typically converges faster than basic optimizers like SGD. Here, we set the learning rate to 0.001. Then we initialize everything in code. We first create an instance of our model by calling MNIST_Module. Next, we create the loss function using nn.CrossEntropyLoss. Finally, we create the optimizer using torch.optim.adam, and we tell it to update all model parameters using the learning rate we defined. This completes the setup needed for training. We have a model, a loss function, and an optimizer. On this slide, we look at how a neural network actually learns from data. Training a model happens in repeated cycles. Each full cycle through the entire training dataset is called an epoch. In simple terms, one epoch means the model has seen all training images once. We set the number of epochs to 5, which is enough for this beginner-level example to learn the digits reasonably well without taking too long. In real projects, people may use 10, 20, or even hundreds of epochs depending on the problem, the size of the data, and how long they want the training to run. Inside the training loop, several important steps happen. Forward pass. We feed a batch of images into the model, and it makes predictions. You can think of this as the model saying, "I think this image is a 7," or "I think this is a 3." Compute the loss. The loss measures how far the model's guesses are from the correct answers. A high loss means the model is performing poorly. A low loss means it is doing better. Zero out old gradients. This clears old learning information from previous steps so they don't interfere with the new updates. Backward pass. PyTorch computes gradients, which tell the model how to change each weight to improve. You can think of gradients like instructions saying, "Increase this weight a little," or "Decrease that weight a lot." Update the weights. The optimizer uses the gradients to adjust the model so it performs slightly better. This cycle repeats for all batches in the dataset, and then for all 5 epochs. By the end, the model has gradually improved, step by step, by reducing the loss. We also print the loss after each epoch so students can see the model learning over time. Now, let's evaluate how well our trained model performs on the test dataset. We begin by switching the model into evaluation mode using the function model.eval. This tells PyTorch that we are no longer training, so it should disable things like dropout or batch normalization updates. Next, we set 2 counters. Correct equals 0 and total equals 0. These will help us compute accuracy. When evaluating, we do not need gradients, so we wrap the entire loop inside with torch.nograd. This reduces memory usage and speeds up computation. Inside the loop, we take one batch from the test loader and pass the images through the model to get the outputs. Then we use torch.max to get the predicted class index for each image. The max function returns two values, the maximum value and its index. We only care about the index, which represents the predicted label. We then increase the total count by the number of images in the batch. We also increase the correct count by the number of predictions that match the true labels. After the loop finishes, we compute accuracy using the formula. Accuracy equals 100 times correct divided by total. Finally, we print the test accuracy to see how well our model generalizes to unseen data. On this slide, we visualize how well the trained model performs by showing some test images along with both the model's predicted label and the true label. To begin, we take one batch of test images and labels from the test data loader. This simply means we are pulling out a small group of images so we can display them. Next, we pass these images into our trained model to generate predictions. The model outputs a set of scores for each possible digit, and we pick the digit with the highest score as the predicted label. You will see an underscore used in the code when calling torch.max. The underscore means we are intentionally ignoring the first value returned, which is the score itself. We only need the second value, which tells us the index of the highest score. That index corresponds to the predicted digit. Finally, we loop through several images in the batch. For each image, we display the picture, show the predicted label from the model, and compare it with the true label from the dataset. This gives us a quick visual check to see how well the model is doing. This step helps build intuition by letting us visually inspect the model's performance, beyond just looking at accuracy numbers. In this section, we look at how to save a trained model and how to load it again later. When we save a model in PyTorch, what we are really saving is the set of learned weights. These weights are stored in what PyTorch calls the state dictionary. To save the model, we call the PyTorch save function and tell it two things. First, the model's state dictionary, and second, the name of the file we want to save it to. This creates a file on your computer that contains all of the trained weights. To load a saved model, we first create a new instance of the same model class. Then, we call the loadStateDictionary function and give it the saved weights. This restores the model to the exact state it was in when we saved it, with the same parameters, the same learned knowledge, and the same predictions. After loading the weights, we switch the model into evaluation mode. Evaluation mode disables training behaviors like dropout and ensures the model behaves correctly when making predictions. This process allows you to train a model once, save it, and reuse it anytime without retraining. We've now reached the end of this case study. You've seen how to load data, build a neural network, train it, evaluate it, and prepare it for future use. Before we close, I have one final question for you. Take a moment to answer it. And once you do, something extra will become available. Go ahead and give it a try.